All right. So with the Yuzhen Vong, and it occurred to me that if you're not familiar with the EU, which a lot of people aren't, granted, you're gonna be wondering what the heck I'm talking about. But I'm not gonna take the time to really explain it. You're on the internet; you can look it up if you want. But the Yuzhen Vong came. Well, I guess I have to go into it a little bit because I want to talk about a couple concerns about the Yuzhen Vong. Is that they came from outside of the galaxy and came from another galaxy, and now they want to conquer this one. Um, and that always rubbed me the wrong way because, as I mentioned before, did I mention it before? No, I didn't mention it before. Uh, um, a uh, you know, I get mixed up between what I actually recorded and what I didn't. Um, but fictional worlds have their natural um, boundaries, both um, both geographically and in story potential. And it's not good to go outside of those boundaries. You're basically compromising the integrity of your fictional world by doing that. Um, and having a race come from outside the galaxy is kind of overstepping that boundary. And that's why it always rubbed me the wrong way. It's like the galaxy far, far away should be a self contained thing, and you shouldn't even think about what is beyond it. However, the galaxy far, far away does have a region called the unknown regions. So you can pretty much pull anything you want out of there. So you can have the Yuuzhan Vong come from there. Um, Another problem with the Yuuzhan Vong is that they're outside the Force. They don't acknowledge its existence, and it pretty much doesn't acknowledge their existence. Jedi can't sense the Yuuzhan Vong through the Force. So, which is interesting because the Yuuzhan Vong hate machines, which is an interesting aspect of them. They always only use organic, live weapons and transports, and that's cool. I think that would be a good thing to depict um, in a sequel trilogy. But in a way, the Yuuzhan Vong themselves are kind of like machines um, in being outside the Force, which doesn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense with the Ais Salamari on Merkur made, for. I mean, I know it's a defense mechanism against the predators on Merkur, whatever, um, and it pretty much does work in that story, but it still kind of bugs me. Like, how in the world does a life form create a force vacuum? Since the force is generated by all living things. I know it's created to be a unique challenge for those who are force sensitive, but it's still like, does this really make sense? Um, Plus, you know, in the galaxy far, far away, once the force was explained to us, we could just assume it was always there, and some people could use it, and some people couldn't, but it was there. And we never had to worry about how to depict where the force was and where the force wasn't. Uh, and if you're going to do that, how are you going to depict that sort of thing in a visual medium like film? Maybe some clever way of depicting that could be come up with. I don't know what that would be. Um, but would you even want to do that? Would you even want to have a race that has nothing to do with the Force? 'Cause that just feels un-Star Warsy to me. So I would be inclined to change that and to basically kind of turn the Yuuzhan Vong into kind of the galaxy far, far away's version of the Klingons. And I'm not a Trekkie, so I'm not deep into Klingon lore, but they seem to be a very militant, aggressive, um, always out to conquer type of people, at least in the original series. Um, so, uh, I've just been rewatching the original series movies. Um, and you could have them be basically like that, a very warlike and conquering race with very organic, living machines, not living machines, but living transports and weapons, coming to conquer the galaxy far, far away from the unknown regions. Now, another little thing I just thought of was that Yuuzhan Vong do talk about gods, that they have gods, and that's a weird thing. And now, I believe in God, I believe in heaven, hell, and all that stuff, but that's not a part of Star Wars. That doesn't belong in Star Wars. I always felt it even was weird in Empire Strikes Back, where Han says, "Then I'll see you in hell." I was just like, "There's a hell in the galaxy far, far away? What?" Um, so, regardless of my own personal beliefs, my own personal opinions, there are certain things that belong in Star Wars and certain things that don't. And the Force is the spiritual part of Star Wars, and to bring the mention of gods in there is a little awkward. So that would have to be something that would be addressed and discussed with the writers. But the overall story, or the general idea of this aggressive force coming from unknown regions in their organic machines and weaponry, being a real threat to the Republic. And the Republic, I would want the Republic to actually be a strong Republic, or the New Republic to be a strong Republic. In the EU, the Republic is fairly weak. Now, a explanation for that is that those people who have lived through the reign of the Emperor and the Empire are terrified of government getting any substantial power, and the possibility of that powerful government then turning into a totalitarian regime again. So they want to keep the government fairly weak, so that the possibility of the empire coming back or being turned into an empire again is minimal to non-existent. Now, and that's a reasonable explanation, but at the same time, one, I want to see that the government our heroes made possible be something respectable, be something that's impressive. I don't want to see what our heroes made possible be pathetic and constantly on the verge of collapse through infighting. And two, if that government is still being kept weak, then the ability of the Yuuzhan Vong to conquer that government and conquer that new society under that government wouldn't be that impressive. It wouldn't be like, well, of course they're gonna just plow over them. Why wouldn't they? Anyone could. So I think the government and that new society would have to be established as being a strong, well-functioning one, and a just but strong and well-functioning. And then the threat of the Yuuzhan Vong would be, one, it would be a concern because you got something good that's being threatened here, and two, if the Yuuzhan Vong is a real threat to it, they must be pretty hardcore, and pretty good at what they do. And like I said, that it would be a change up from the usual Sith storyline, even though you could still have people going to the dark side, and conflicts between the light and dark side users. Screw the idea of morally gray characters. This is Star Wars is not that kind of story. It's a good versus evil fairy tale type thing. So keep it that way, right? You can have characters who flip flop, or who go from one to the other. Back, we've had that before. You had Anakin going to the dark side, being redeemed. We have smugglers, gamblers, becoming heroes. Um, we have people who we've had creatures who basically just work for the highest bidder with the Camino inns. Um, but the main thing should be, you have your characters on the good side, and then your villains. Um, okay, and so we have our heroes, our regular heroes. We have maybe their children. We have some new characters. Got to bring in some new characters. We have the galaxy being attacked from the outside by some by a race inspired by the Yuuzhan Vong. Maybe you call them something else, but they come from the unknown regions, and they're a highly military force like Star Trek original series Klingons, and they're attacking the good New Republic. That sounds reasonable. Like, it may not feel completely consistent with the through line. Well, it's not going to be totally consistent with the through line of 1 through 6, but it'll be a believable progression of what's going on in the galaxy far, far away. And why am I even talking about the Yuuzhan Vong? Because instead of just coming up with something whole cloth, because why not? I mean, if the work has already been put in, and many people are already familiar with it and invested in it, why not use it? Of course, I mentioned changing timeline, changing some of the details, other details, but still use what works and what's already been thought through. And But I'm not done yet. I am going to, because I have one more proposal to make as far as sequel movies are concerned, and how to make it work as well as possible. Because that is the name of the game, just making the best possible stories after Return of the Jedi. And I'm going to talk about that in the next and finally, video. Whoa, okay.